Welcome back to my booktube. So I got an ask on my Tumblr about books that were important to me growing up, and I thought instead of typing it all out and having one long message, I would do a long YouTube video. So first I think I should introduce you to Puppy, who was my first reading companion. I've had him since I was 3 years old. He has obviously seen better days, but he has a permanent place in my bed, always, and I never leave him. So I think if I was doing a video about books that were important to me growing up, it's only right that Puppy should make an appearance. I also notice that I wear a lot of black in my videos, so I've come from work and I've changed specially into a rainbow colour t-shirt to make things a little bit brighter. So first of all, I should point out that I don't have every single book that was important to me, because me and my sister used to share a room, and we kept them on a black bookcase, which is actually the bookcase I have now, but the bottom is sawed off so that it fits on top of my chest of drawers. But all the books that we had when we were younger have been sorted out, so some of them have been given to my cousins. Some of them were binned because they were in terrible states, and a couple of them are left in that cupboard, but her room is an absolute state, so I can't actually get into it. So I may have to have a rummage through another day and do you a part 2 of this video. So when I was younger, I don't really remember my parents reading to me a lot, but I remember my nan reading to me when she used to babysit me and my sister. She used to read. She used to get me to read to her and my sister. I used to read to my brother. No one else in my family is a massive bookworm, so I don't really know where I've got that from. When I was younger, from about the age of 5 to 10, I used to do a reading challenge in my local library, which was linked with the school. So we would read 6 books in 6 weeks, and it had different themes like the jungle or the desert or pirates, and you used to have different stickers for every book, and you would move around on a map after you read it. So you would read the book, sit in front of someone, explain what happened, and they'd give you a sticker. And once you completed the 6 books in 6 weeks, you would get a certificate and a medal, and I completed every one every single year. My sister used to get dragged along because if I did it, she kind of did it. She used to struggle and sometimes she didn't finish, but I would finish, say, 6 books in 2 weeks and then continue to go up there and just take book out after book after book. And I used to use my library an awful lot when I was younger. I still do now, but not as much. I find it hard to go out when I'm working and that, so I don't really get a lot of free time. So I have, what do I have? 10 books for you to talk to. Some of these aren't the original books or aren't books that I had when I was younger exactly. So the first one I have is the complete collection of Winnie the Pooh. This actual book, I think it's to celebrate the 75th anniversary or something like that. My best friend bought me it when I was 16. Because I used to love Winnie the Pooh. I used to have a lot of the books when I was younger. Unfortunately they got damaged. My sister went through a stage of drawing through every single book that we owned. So some of these I will show you. She used to write the name of who it belonged to, but we used to share a lot of things. So Winnie the Pooh was a character that I used to love. My room was decorated, well, I say our room was decorated in Winnie the Pooh frames. The Winnie the Pooh stickers are still actually up there. They stuck so well we can't actually remove them. I used to have Winnie the Pooh everything. Me and my sister had Winnie the Pooh bed sheets. I actually still have them, and because I'm the only the only bed in the house that's a single, I still put them on there with absolute no shame. And sometimes my boyfriend comes over and just sees Winnie the Pooh bed sheets, and I don't even care. I love my Winnie the Pooh bed sheets, and I do not let my mum throw them away. They are coming with me wherever I go. I also have a Winnie the Pooh onesie that was bought for me on one Christmas because I still absolutely adore Winnie the Pooh, and I think everyone should read them at least once in their life. This is a book that I actually cherish. I actually damaged the book I don't know if you see it up the top. I took it camping with me and I read it through, and it was in perfect condition until I got home. It was a 9-hour drive and I had my legs crossed, and as I got out the car, this book got caught on my jumper and it fell out and hit the drive, and I actually cried. Well, my dad came out, I was sitting on the floor cuddling this book and crying, and he just carried on. He knew it's a damaged book, just leave him to it. So, that's the first one. If you hear a loud bang, don't worry, that's just the books falling over. The second book I have is a book that's very, very important to me, and I plan to pass this on if I ever have children of my own. So it's the Disney Storybook Collection. It's slightly damaged, it's got gold pages. This, I think, was my very first book that I actually owned, and when my sister went through that drawing phase, I hid it because there was no way she was going to draw in it, because I think I probably would have actually smacked her around the head with it. So it's got like Disney stories. It's not obviously really long, it's just kind of summed up. But this was one of the very first books that I actually read by myself. So it's got like Mickey and the Beanstalk, Cruella de Vil, Snow White, Pinocchio, The Little Mermaid. Pinocchio is a funny one because when I was little, I used to go around the house saying I'm a real boy over and over like Pinocchio did, and my parents just thought it was just coincidence, and then I turned out to be transgender, and you know, I think that's just hilarious. My next cosplay actually is going to be Pinocchio, because it's just I am Pinocchio. This book, as you can see, my sister got round to drawing in it and writing my brother's name. This book was also one of the very first books I managed to read properly, because it's got a few more words in The Cuckoo in the Clock and other stories. So I used to actually read this to my sister when I was younger. This is one that did not go in the cupboard at all. It's stayed on my very own bookcase. It's got paint on it where I used to copy illustrations from it. The cover is damaged, but considering I've had it since I was little, I don't even remember it being bought. I think it's in pretty good condition, apart from a page being ripped out the front and my sister's scribbling phase. I just want to point out my sister is 2-3 years younger than me, so you can't really blame her for scribbling in the book. I think most people have read this book, The Story of Tracy Beaker. I am going to start reading blurbs as I get through, but I don't think you really need to know the blurb of this. This book is, well, it is damaged. I think most of these books are damaged. This book I have read over and over so many times, it's unreal. I actually, when it was a World Book Day, I actually went as Tracy Beaker one time, and took the book with me, and it's creased because some kid threw it over a fence in school because they were an absolute dick, and they actually broke that, and I got in trouble for whacking a kid with his book, which was hardback, and I remember that because no one damages my books. The next one is weird. It's called How to Hypnotise a Chicken. So, do you know how to read someone's mind, take a penalty kick, speak in code, do a wheelie, get out of quicksand, hoot with your hands, tell if a person is lying, make sure you are the best at everything, hours of fun guaranteed, beat the rest, be the best. So it's just like a to-do book, like how to do things, like how to jump shot a basketball, how to make fire, how to recognise a witch, how to rip a phone directory in half, how to eat in a posh restaurant, how to avoid being eaten by a polar bear, how to spook your family, how to pay the toilet roll, how to swim. So it was just little things growing up that I could really have a laugh with, and although it's not technically a story, this is important to me because me and my sister used to do a lot of things together, and we used to read a lot of this, and we used to try different things, and me and my brother used to do things as well. So how to win at conkers, so we did how to do conkers. How to be the best all around the world, so it's how to say I am the best in different languages. And I just remember sitting through that and reading it to my sister. These are now, as I'm getting older, they are probably, all the ones I've done are probably me under 9, 10 years old. So obviously Harry Potter is in here. It's not actually too damaged. I kept Harry Potter pretty, I think you can tell I'm growing up at this point. I managed to keep it pretty good condition. I think maybe 1 or 2 pages are slightly ripped. But Hogwarts always felt like somewhere I would be accepted. I used to get bullied a lot in school, and it was always because I was different or I was strange, and I prayed that I would get a letter from Hogwarts to take me away from these annoying schools, and I was weird because I was a wizard, and maybe that's why I didn't fit in or why I struggled. But I just remember reading a lot of Harry Potter and wishing I was there. I think, looking up at my Harry Potter shelf, yeah, I actually got Prisoner of Azkaban first. My brother was clearing out someone's attic with a friend, and they found a copy and they gave it to me. And then I built the collection around it, which is something I seem to do a lot. So Harry Potter is obviously a big one. Nice red cover. Black Beauty. So this book I am being very careful with. This is actually my mum's copy, and it is, just going to cover up name and address. It's actually falling apart, but still in good condition. So my mum loved Black Beauty. She actually used to have a horse we used to visit. I've never actually been on a horse. I was always too scared, but I used to pet her a lot. And oh, they found something in it. So we used to watch Black Beauty, and we always cry at it. And it was a couple of years ago, Mum gave me her copy of Black Beauty, and it means a lot because horses, I'd never really been into horses a lot, but my mum has since she was younger, and I think it was such a big thing for her to give me her favourite book, considering she doesn't read a lot. So this is a book I will keep in very, very good condition. Well, as good as a condition as I can until the day I die. Right, we have 3 left, and these are probably going to seem quite weird. So, The Black Book of Secrets. When Ludlow Finch suffers an unspeakable betrayal, he runs from the rotten, stinking city. On the night he enters Pagras Pavus, I always just called it Pagras, a second newcomer arrives at the remote village. Joe Zam Idu. I struggle with names, I used to make them up. A mysterious pawnbroker who buys people's deepest, darkest secrets is searching for new customers, and for an apprentice. Shadowy Ludlow seems perfect for the job, but as he begins his new life recording the villagers' fiendish confessions, Ludlow's murky past threatens to come into the light. So I actually started reading this book. Must have been year 8 English. We were told to go to the front, pick out a book and read it, and I actually picked up this book and I read it really quickly, loved it, and everyone was still on the first book, so I managed to read it by the time the class has actually finished their first books. So we used to read once a week, and my sister was still in primary school at the time, so she had the book fair, and I took her along one time and I saw this book and I decided to buy it because I'd already read it twice and loved it, and this book I have reread so many times. Although actually looking at it, the spine's broken a little bit. It's actually in pretty good condition considering I've had it for many years. Year 8 I would have been 13, 12, 13, somewhere around there, so I've had this a little while. I actually think all of these books I have now, I was under 14 when I read. So, growing up, yeah, probably about under 15. But this book I would recommend to anyone of any age, really. It is a children's book, but a children's book that can't be enjoyed by an adult isn't a very good children's book. The next one, when I tell people I read this about when I was 11, 12 years old, people give me a really weird look. So it's actually The Shining by Stephen King. I wasn't allowed to watch the movie, so I read the book. As a rebellious preteen. This isn't actually my original copy. I read the book and then watched the film because my mum decided that I'd already known what happened, so I could understand it a bit more, and then I reread the book and reread the book, and it was actually the first Stephen King book I read, and then I lost the book, and I couldn't believe that I actually lost the book. I had no idea where it went. Obviously because me and my sister shared a room, a lot of things went missing, so I actually thought she binned it by accident. So my mum and dad went out and bought me a brand new copy. After about a year we couldn't find it, they decided, right, we're not going to find it now. So they went out and bought me a new copy. And then a couple of, I think it was last year, my sister found my original battered copy. And I actually gave it to my boyfriend because it was my most loved book at that time. And I thought maybe he would enjoy it, so I passed it on because I already had the new copy, and I thought a copy that was already well loved kind of shows a bit because it was my favourite book. So I don't know if a lot of people know about, but I know people know about The Shining, but I don't know if people know what it means, so I will read it. Danny is only 5 years old, but in the world of Mr. Halloran, he is a shiner, aglow with psychic voltage. When his father becomes caretaker of the Overlook Hotel, Danny's visions grow out of control. As winter closes in and blizzards cut them off, a hotel seems to develop a life of its own. It is meant to be empty, so who is the lady in room 217? And who is the masked guest going up and down in the elevator? And why do the hedges shaped like animals seem so alive? Somewhere, somehow, there is an evil force in the hotel, and that too is beginning to shine. So I actually really adored The Shining, and I started to collect Stephen King's books. I have about 24, which isn't a lot, but my shelf for my Stephen King books is full, so until I get some more storage space I can't really afford to collect many more because I want to keep them all together, so I don't want to have to put one on another shelf, if that makes sense. I get really weird with my books. And then you've got the sequel to this book, which is Doctor Sleep. I haven't included this in here because I read it much later, but I also really enjoyed that book, so I would recommend The Shining and then checking out Doctor Sleep. Every time someone asks me for a Stephen King book, I recommend this straight up because it's one of his most known books. So I think it is a good place to start, considering I was 11, 12 when I read it. It's gonna fall in a minute. The next book is my favourite series, and I get so many questions about this, and I recommend it to anyone and everyone, and every time someone asks me for a book recommendation, it's on the top of my list. Skullduggery Pleasant. The one I actually have here is the third book, because when it does have a story to it, it is quite battered. I did cover up my name, but I realised I didn't cover up the school, so you know, you can probably hunt me down if you want. Presented to me for effort in geography. Celebrations of Achievements 2009. So my secondary school used to do where if you got if you put a lot of effort into a subject or you achieved really well, you used to get nominated by your teachers, and I have no idea how I got it for geography because I really hated it. I actually dropped it at the end of year 8. My geography teacher hated me. I made him cry a couple of months into my first year at secondary school, and then my geography teacher after that gave up. So maybe it was because I actually did some work and they decided to give me an achievement for effort. I have no idea. It surprised me at the time. It surprised my parents. But we used to get a letter, and they used to make an agreement with the local bookshop. I think it was actually Waterstones. So we would take an afternoon off school, all the people that win, go in, and you get to pick a book. I think it was under £10, and if it was any more, you used to have to pay a bit. So let me see if I can work out. Yeah, it's £13, so my dad would have paid £3 for a book because the school paid £10 on it, and it was meant to. Well, for people that didn't really like books, it was a bit of a downer to win a book, but for me, I loved it. I remember walking around the bookshop for ages, struggling to find a book because I'd be like, read that, read that, read that, read that, and my dad hated it. And I saw this, and I like skeletons. I was like, this book looks pretty. I was like, it's got magic and skeletons. I was like, I'm having that. So, Skullduggery is a skeleton detective. He's dead. He was brought back to life by some weird source of magic. I'm going to basically sum up the first book, which you might need to know to understand the third book. Valkyrie, her uncle died, who was a friend of Skullduggery, which was how they met, which is not a spoiler because it basically says on the back of the front cover. So it says, you've seen it all before. Some bad guys want to bring about the end of the world, and Skullduggery and Valkyrie fight valiantly to stop it happening. A few people get hurt, sure, but everything's alright in the end. Well, not this time. So, I didn't know it was the third book. There is absolutely nothing in here to say, this is the third book. Also read. So I picked it up. That's that book's falling over. I picked it up, read it, researched the series and thought, oh dear, this is the third book in a series, which meant I had to buy the other ones, and I've been hooked ever since. This is my most read book from the Skullduggery Pleasant series, because while waiting for the other two to turn up, I would read this, and then I think I was pretty late into the series, so I managed to read a few more books, and then I had to wait for them to start being released. And there are 9 books in the series and 2 novellas. I have every single one of them. I also made my boyfriend buy every single one of them, and he is currently on the 5th book and loving it. So I recommend everyone to buy this series and read it, and recommend it to all your friends because they will love the hell out of it, and your children and your cousins and your nans. It's my absolute favourite series in the world. I'm going to rant on about this book, and you can stop this video now or you can carry on listening. This book helped me through a lot of times when I was feeling low, when I couldn't sleep. It's been camping, it's been in Italy. This book is a little bit beaten up. Yeah, I think it's a book that anyone enjoys. The author, Derek Landley, has obviously written the 9 books. He wrote Demon's Road, which is also an amazing trilogy. He is writing a new Skullduggery Pleasant series. The last book of this series actually made me cry. It starts off being a bright and happy series, and well, not really happy, and then by the end it just rips your soul out. So if you want a nice soul-wrenching book, this is the one for you. I can't put that on my pile because my pile is now non-existent. I think that about wraps it up. I'm surprised Puppy stayed up there. So I will end it there. That's probably me ranting for the last 10 minutes about one book, but it's enjoyment. So until my next video, see you later.